Next we can go through question number 20. So in question 20, what they have given to us, the half-life of a radioactive substance is 20 days. The time is spent between 40% decay to 85% decay of the initial number of the nuclei is. Okay. So in this question they have given T half is equal to 20 days. Okay. Next, the time between 40% decay to 85% decay. Okay. So let us assume T1 is the time. T1 is the time for 40% decay. So for T1 time, what we can write? Ln initial concentration, which is N naught, upon concentration present at that time T1 equal to lambda into T1. So in this question, T1 is the time spent between 40% decay. So 40% is decay. So how much percent will remain at that point? 60% you can say that. So this is N naught, this is 0.6 of initial number now, because 40% decay means remaining part will be 60%. So this is lambda T1, and from that equation this will be cancelled out. See, this is ln 10 by 6 equal to lambda T1. So this is your like that. Similarly, T2 is the time required for 85% decay. 85% decay means you can write like ln N naught upon concentration at time T2 equal to ln T2. Now just put the values again same manner. 85% is decayed, so what amount will be remain at that particular time? 15% will be there. So you can write like 0.515 N naught equal to lambda T1. Again N naught cancelling each other. So you can write like this ki ln 100 upon 15 equal to ln T2. So this is the equation T2. So they have asked you time spent between 40% decay to 85%. So time is what? T2 minus T1, which is equal to, see, 1 by lambda ln 100 upon 15 minus 100 upon 15 minus what we can write? T2 minus T1. T1 equal to ln 10 by 6 upon lambda ln 10 by 6. Lambda is already in common. So you can write like this also, no? 100 by 60 in the same ratio. So this is equal to 1 upon lambda. Apply the properties of logarithm. So this will be log 100 upon 50 upon this one. So you can write directly 60 upon 100. So this is basically 100 cancelling each other. 15 into 4 is 16. So this will be 1 upon lambda ln 4. So this is the time, and you can write like this ln 2 upon lambda. 4 will be go out. So you can write like this, 2 will come outside. So this is the answer. So, and we know that T half means what? T half means ln 2 by lambda, no? Which you can write like 0.693 by lambda. So this is given as 20. So instead of ln 2 by lambda, you can directly substitute 20 days. So answer should be 2 into 20, which is equal to 40 days. So this is the time required between 40% decay to 85%, which is 40 days. So which option is matching? Option B is the option which is matching with that one. So option B is the correct answer for this particular questions. Is it okay? Okay. Next is question number 21. The potential difference across the resistance, capacitance and inductance are 80 volt, 40 volt and 100 volt respectively in LCR circuit. The power factor of this circuit is, okay. So they have asked about the power factor. So in that question, what we can do for power factor, let's see. Power factor, you know, power factor means cos phi. Cos phi is equal to R upon Z. In question 21, they have asked about the power factor. And we know that power factor means cos phi, which is equal to resistance upon impedance Z. And instead of that, you can also write like this, we can multiply by I. We can multiply by I. So this is I into R is the basically voltage across resistor, and I into Z is the net voltage across the impedance. Further you can write like this. This is VR, and we know that in series RLC circuit, Vz is equal to VR square plus VL minus VC square. What is the meaning of this term? This is resistance voltage, this is voltage across resistor square plus voltage across inductor, and C for capacitor, because they are out of phase now. That's why we need to do like that manner. That is already you know. So just put the values of these things. What they have given to us? The potential difference across the resistor, resistance is how much? 80. Put it 80 under root of 80 square plus capacitance and inductors is 40 and 100 respectively. So this is 40 and 100 respectively. So this will be on further simplification, we can substitute 80 divided by under root of 80 square plus 60 square is 60 square. So this is coming to be 80 upon 100, because 80 square plus 60 square is like that. So this will be 0.8. So cos factor will be 0.8. So the correct option is option B. So for question number 21, correct option is B. We have applied the concept of cos factor, power factor, which is equal to cos phi equal to R upon Z. R is resistance and impedance, and accordingly we have put the values, and accordingly we get the answer. So this is question number 22. Next we can go through question number 22. In question 22, what they have given to us, the sink temperature of a Carnot engine is 40%. Okay, so efficiency they have given as 40%. So you can write like that, 40 by 100, or you can simply put 40 by 100 efficiency, 40%. The sink temperature of a Carnot engine is 40%, efficiency at 300 Kelvin. Okay, sink temperature is how much? 300. You know the formula? This is 1 minus sink temperature T2 upon T1, and in this particular question, this is the efficiency formula. Efficiency is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. T2 is called sink temperature, and this is called reservoir temperature. Sink temperature, reservoir temperature. Now, the sink temperature of a Carnot engine of 40% efficiency is at 300 Kelvin. So for this question, this is 40 upon 100 efficiency. 1 minus sink temperature is how much? 300 upon temperature is T1. For increasing the efficiency to 60%, okay, now they have increased it. Okay, from this one you will be able to calculate T1 equal to how much? T1 is coming out, see, from this expression 300 upon T1 equal to, bring 1 that side, you will get 60 upon 100, correct now? 1 minus 40 upon 100 is 60 upon 100, and from that you will be able to calculate T1 is equal to 300 into 10 upon 6, which is equal to 500 Kelvin. So this is initial temperature of the reservoir. Next, for increasing efficiency to 60%. Now efficiency is 60%, so you can write this 60 upon 100 is equal to 1 minus sink temperature does not change. So sink temperature will be same as 300 upon, let us assume, temperature of the sink become T1 dash, correct. So from this expression we will calculate T1 dash. So T1 dash, so bring 300 upon T1 dash equal to 1 minus 60 upon 100, which is equal to 40 upon 100. Okay, so T1 is equal to how much? T1 is equal to 300 into 10 upon 4, which is equal to, suppose this is 2575 basically, because Correct, no? 75 into 10 is 750 Kelvin. So answer should be, so what they have asked us, they have asked that find the temperature will be. So accordingly the same temperature for increasing efficiency in the temperature of source, temperature will be increased by which factor? So temperature will be increased, temperature of reservoir increased by T1 dash minus T1, which is equal to 750 minus 500, which is equal to 250 Kelvin. Correct. So that is the question number 22. Next question is question number 23. In question number 23, what they have given, a satellite of mass m orbiting the earth of radius r at a height h from the surface. The total energy of the satellite in terms of g naught, the value of g naught, where the g naught is the value of acceleration due to gravity at the earth's surface is. Okay. For these questions, what we can do, is it okay this one question? Next, in that question, what we can do, question number 23. So it's satellite, suppose this is the earth, satellite is this one, this is the distance from the center of the earth and is at a height h. So this height is h, this is radius of earth, this is mass of earth, this is center of the earth. The value of acceleration due to gravity. Okay. So question, the total energy of the satellite. We know that total energy is equal to, total energy of a satellite in a revolving form is equal to minus g m1 m2 upon 2 into r, where r is this much distance. This is basically total energy, which is equal to kinetic plus potential. Kinetic is half mv square and orbital velocity is under root of gm by r. Also you know that relation, which relation? Total energy, kinetic energy and potential energy. So potential energy what? gm1 m2 upon r, total energy what? Minus gmm by 2r. Just put the value of this one, and since g equal to gm by r square, so instead of gm we can eliminate gm equal to g into r square and put the value in the above expression. So total energy become minus, instead of that you can write g into r square into m upon 2r. Now what is r? R equal to, you can see radius of earth plus h, because this distance is what? R, this distance is what? H. So small r equal to r plus h, distance of the satellite from the center of earth. Now just put the values. So this will be gr square m upon 2 into r plus h. So this is the total energy expression. Now see the options, m z naught r square upon 2 into r plus h. So option A is matching with that one. So remember, this is the total energy of a revolving satellite around the earth orbit, which is equal to g m1 m2 upon 2 into r. So this is your question number 23. Next question is 24. In question 24, what they have given to us, a capacitor with dielectric is charged completely and the battery is disconnected. Now the dielectric is pulled out. So this is parallel plate capacitor. Initially it was charged and dielectric is filled like this, dielectric constant K. So this is voltage. The capacitor will get fully charged. When it is removed, what is capacitance? C is equal to A epsilon naught D into K. K is dielectric constant when the dielectric was inside the capacitor. Now when the battery is removed, then what will happen? when battery is removed, then charge on the capacitor will not change. Why? Because once the charge is stored on the surface of the plate will remain constant throughout the motion, because when dielectric is removed, what will change is, due to removal of dielectric, K will become 0. So when dielectric is removed, so capacitance of the capacitor will change to A epsilon naught D, because in that case air will be present in between the parallel plate capacitor. So you can say that when dielectric is removed, Q will not change, because already it is stored at the surface of the plate. Q is constant, correct, and C is what? Change, now C is decreasing or increased. C, since K is always 1 or greater than 1, and since here it is air, so C will decrease. Capacitance will decreases, it is decreasing, C. So capacitance is decreased, Q is constant, and you know that Q equal to C into V. So from that formula you can see Q is what? Charge, C is capacitance, V is voltage. So Q is constant, so C1 V1 equal to C2 V2. C1 is what? Decrease, so voltage should be increase. So voltage should be increased. Correct, no? Because C getting decreased, so voltage must be increased. And if voltage is increased, then electric field also increase now. So electric field also increases. So voltage should increase, electric field increase, capacitance decrease, charge remain constant. Now option first option, charge stored will decrease, charge is constant, wrong option. Option B, electric field between the plate will decrease, electric field increase, that is also wrong. Potential difference between the plate will decrease, potential difference is increasing, that is also wrong. Energy stored will increase, energy stored, formula of energy stored. Energy stored equal to Q square upon 2C. Since Q is not changing, but C is what? Decreasing. So denominator is decreasing, so result will be increasing. So energy stored will increase. So option D is the correct answer for this questions. So that is question number 24. Okay. Next we can go through question number 25. In question 25, what they have given to us, 1 mole of oxygen gas is contained in a box of volume 2 meter cube at a pressure P0, okay, and temperature is 300 Kelvin, okay. The gas is now heated at 600 Kelvin and the molecule now get dissociated into oxygen atom. The new pressure of the gas is, okay. So in this particular question, question number 25, what they have given, 1 mole of oxygen gas. Suppose this is the container, this is box. How many, this is box? 1 mole. N1 equal to 1 mole of O2, oxygen molecule, is contained in a box of volume. Volume is given as how much? Volume equal to 2 meter cube. Pressure is P0, temperature is 300 Kelvin. The gas is now heated to 600 Kelvin. Now this is changed. Temperature become 600 Kelvin. Molecule now dissociated into oxygen atom. See, this is molecule, they have dissociated into oxygen atom. So if the mole of oxygen molecule is 1, then mole of oxygen atom will become how much? 2, because it is 2 into this much now. So mole of oxygen is basically 2, so you can put 2. Correct. Now the new pressure and volume is not changing. Why? Because it is fixed now, because it is box. So volume will be same as 2 meter cube. So they have asked find the pressure P2. Okay, so what we can do, we can apply the ideal gas equation, which is equal to PV equal to nRT. Since volume is not changing, so this is basically this is basically volume is not changed means which process? Isochoric process. So you can say that R is what? Constant. This is also constant. Pressure is what? Constant. So you can say basically number of mole into temperature upon P, or you can simply say like that, pressure upon N into T, P1 N1 T1 equal to P2 N2 T2. Value put. Just put the values. What is P1? P0. What is number of mole? 1. What is temperature? 300. What is P2? We don't know. What is N2? 2. What is temperature? T2 is how much? 600. So P2 is equal to 300 into 2 is 600. So 2 into 2 is 4. So P2 equal to 4 P naught. So that should be the answer of question number 25th. So which one is matching? Okay, option C is matching, which is 4 P naught. So answer of question number 25th is 4 P naught, which is option C. Is it okay? Okay, that was question number 25th. Next question is 26. The value of quality factor of the series resonating circuit with inductance, capacitance and resistance is given. Everything is given, just put the values. Question number 26. Question number 26. The value of quality factor of the series resonant circuit with inductance L equal to how much? 2 Henry, capacitance is 32 microfarad, and in the resistance is how much? 10 ohm. That is given the question. So they have find quality factor. You know, the quality factor is basically determine the sharpness of the resonating condition, and we know that it is equal to XL upon R, which is equal to 1 upon R under root of L by C. Just put the values accordingly, we will be able to calculate it. Now we can put the values of everything, which is given as, what is resistance, which is given as 1 upon 10, okay, and L is 2, capacitance is what, 32, but its unit is microfarad, so you can put micro means 10 raised to the power minus 6. So it will be coming out 1 upon 10, this is 2, this is 32, so this will be 16, the 1 by 4 will come out, and 10 power minus 3 will come out, so this will be like something 10 power 2 upon 4, which is 100 by 4 means 25 will be coming out, because this is 10 power minus 3, this is 10 power 1, so combined it will give us 10 power minus 2 will go up, 10 power 2 upon 4, 100 by 4, which is 25. So that should be the answer. Okay, so the correct option is A, because it is matching with that one. So basically you can remember quality factor is simply the factor by which we can check the resonating condition in series RLC circuit, the sharpness of the circuit basically, and which is equal to XL upon R, or at resonating condition XL equal to XC. XL means impedance, or you can say the resistance across inductor, XC means resistance across capacitor, so this is the resistance across inductor, this is resistor. Now XL equal to omega L, and whenever we put, we will get simplified as 1 upon R under root of L by C, and just put the values accordingly, we will be able to solve it. So that is question number 26. Next is question 27. In question 27, what they have given to us, the wavelength of radiation emitted when electron jump from the third to second orbit of hydrogen atom is lambda. Okay, so we know that relation now, 1 by lambda equal to R. This is hydrogen atom, so atomic number of hydrogen atom is what, 1. So 1 by lambda equal to Rydberg constant into Z square, which is hydrogen, so Z will be 1 square, 1 by lambda equal to R into 1 upon N1 square minus 1 upon N2 square. Now in this particular question, what they have given, the wavelength of the radiation emitted when electron jump from the third to second orbit. So for third to second orbit, 1 by lambda equal to R, 1 upon, always put here lower limit, because this term should be greater when denominator is smaller, so you can put 2 square minus 1 upon 3 square. This is the transition, and you can simplify it like this, R 1 upon 2 square means 1 upon 4, 1 upon 4, 1 upon 1 upon 4 minus 1 upon 9, which is coming to be 9 minus 4, 5 R by 36. So this is the lambda. Next is the wavelength of the radiation emitted for the electron jump from the fourth to second orbit. Now this is fourth to second orbit. So let us assume this is lambda 1 R. this will become 2 square 4 minus this will become 4 square, which is 16. So this is coming out, r by 4 is common, so this will be 1 minus 1 by 1 by 4. So this is 4 minus 1, 3. So this will be 3r upon 16. Now we have to find lambda 1. So let us assume this is equation 1, this is equation 2, divide equation 1 upon equation 2. So on that note we will get lambda 1 upon lambda is equal to, from that expression we can see 5r by 36 into 16, 5r by 36 equal to 3r. Something will be cancelling each other, r cancelled. Now this is 16, this is 36. So you can say that 4 into 4 is 16, 4 into 9 is 36. So this is 20 upon 9. So lambda 1 equal to 20 upon 9 into lambda. So this is the wavelength. Sorry, 9 into 3 will be 27. Make it correct. 9 into 3 now, 27 will be there. So this is 5 into 4, 20, 9 into 3 is 27. So this will be 20 lambda by 27. So which option is matching with that one? 20 lambda by 27, option B. So option B is the correct answer for question number 27. Okay. Next we can go through question number 28. So in question number 28, this is basically directly based on the center of mass calculation, and this is 1/4 of the ring, and we know that in ring, you already know, in ring the center of mass location from the center is what? 2r by pi. So this is the ring. You can also remember the result basically. This is 1/4 of the ring now. This is y-axis, this is x-axis. These things is done by integration. See how to do this type of element. Suppose we have considered now dm element. Correct now. This is dm element. This is theta. This theta is very small, d theta. This length is what? dl. And their coordinate is what? This is the coordinate, and accordingly we will also solve. This is x coordinate, this is y coordinate, this is radius of the ring, same 1/4 of the ring. So this x equal to how much? This is theta, so this is equal to r cos theta, y equal to this distance equal to this distance, so this is equal to r sin theta. And for x coordinate of center of mass equal to integration of dm into x coordinate, integration of dm. By using that equation you will be able to solve it. And what is dm? Here mass is distributed over the length, so by using that concept, lambda equal to mass per unit length. Length of that part is what? dl. So we can, and dl equal to what? This length is the arc length, na? R into d theta. So we can substitute like this, r into d theta. So dm will be equal to lambda r d theta, and whenever you will put the value of dm in these 2 points, you will be able to calculate x coordinate of center of mass, which is equal to lambda r d theta into x, and x coordinate is what? R cos theta divided by lambda r d theta. Now put the value of limit. Initial value of theta is what? 0 when you are considering this element, and final value is this much. So theta is changing from 0 to 90 degree. So initial limit is 0 degree, final limit will be 90 degree. So on solving this, we will be able to solve the coordinate of x coordinate. See, lambda and r. Lambda is constant because it is uniformly distributed. Radius is again constant because it is the value of radius which will not change. So what we can say, cos theta and integration of cos r is what? Constant. Keep it out. Integration of cos theta is what? Integration of cos theta is sin theta. So put the values 0 to 90 means pi by 2, and d theta is what? Theta. So put the limit pi by 2. So this will be 2r upon pi. Upper limit cos 90 is 1, cos 0 is 1. So this is 1 minus 0. So this is coming out 2r by pi. Also you can remember basically result of this question, because for ring center of mass is what? 2r by pi, and this is like 1/4 of it. And see, the portion is uniformly distributed now, so x coordinate and y coordinate will be exactly in similar manner, but in y coordinate you have to put y, and this will be r sine theta, but 0 to 90 everything will be same, but integration of sine theta is what, minus cos theta, and upper limit you will put 0, so you will get the same result for x as well as y coordinate. So answer, which option is matching with that one? Option C, which has symmetrical x and y coordinate. So this is question number 28. Next we can go through question number 29. Question 29, what they are given? A capacitor of 2 microfarad is charged as shown in the figure. When the switch S is turned to the position, when the switch S is turned to the position 2, the percentage of its stored energy dissipated is, okay. So initially it is at the position 1. So according to the diagram, this is the it seems something like that. This is 8 microfarad, this is 2 microfarad, this is 1, this is 2, this is voltage. So initially when it is connected with point 1, so it is charging of capacitor, so it will get fully charged. So energy stored U1 equal to half CV square, C1 V square, and C1 equal to how much? 2 into V square. We have not put in SI unit, we have just put in the value of capacitance. Now when it is connected with 2, this is the initial diagram. Now when it is connected with 2, the diagram will looks like this manner. This is 2 position. So this will be open circuit like this. So this have no role. So this is charged, earlier it was charged. Now this is 8, this is 2 microfarad. So this is the discharging of capacitor. Charge of capacitor 1 get discharged by capacitors 2, and finally it will get stored in such a manner so that their potential difference will be equal, because these two are connected in parallel connections. And you can remember the result also. With that result is what means heat loss. Heat loss, you can remember simply the result like this. Heat loss is equal to half into C1 upon C1 plus C2 into V1 minus V2 whole square. What is V1 and V2? We will explain it. Half constant C1 and C2 and upon C1 plus C2 is the capacitance respectively. So suppose this is 1, this is 2, like that. And V1 minus V2 is what? This is the voltage 1. Suppose this is V1 by which it is charged initially, say, and suppose this is also charged by voltage 2 initially. So we have to put like this. So accordingly you will be able to solve. This is the heat loss. So heat loss equal to how much? Half. C1 equal to how much? 2. C2 equal to 8 upon C1 plus C2 10. V1 equal to V, and earlier it was not charged because there is no any battery by which 8 microfarad is connected, so it is 0 square. So it is coming out how much? 2 cancel, 8 upon 10 into V square. So this is coming out 8 upon 10 V squared now. So this is coming out like this, 8 upon 10 V squared. So this is the heat loss. So they have asked you find the percentage. So for percentage what we have to do? Heat loss upon initial energy into 100. So percentage loss equal to, this is the heat loss. Suppose this is your heat loss is equation 2. So what we can do, heat loss, percentage loss equal to initial value which is equal to 0.8 V square upon, what is initial value? V square. And for percentage you have to multiply by 100. So this will be the answer, which is coming out to be 80%, because V square will cancel 0.8 into 100, which will be equal to 80%. So the option which is matching is option D. The logic behind this question is that initially it is charged, it is uncharged, they are combined. So charges will redistribute itself till the time they have got same potential difference across them. During the flow of charge, heat will produced. So in the form of heat, it will be lost. We can simply remember the formula, half into C equivalent into V1 minus V2 square, and V1 is the voltage of cell 1, V2 is the voltage of cell 2. Like that you will put, you will get the answer. So that is your question number 29. Answer should be D. Next we can go through question number 30. Okay. In question 30, they have given different process, isothermal, adiabatic, isobaric, isochoric process. Among these, which one is isothermal? Okay. So this is the questions, pressure versus volume. So if pressure is constant, then the process is called isobaric process. So this is pressure is constant. So you can write like now, pressure into volume to the power 0 is constant. Basically we wish to write in a form of PV to the power something like that. V to the power 0 is what? 1. So pressure is constant. So this process is isobaric process. Okay, what is this process? Okay, in this process volume is same. So this will be isochoric process. So this one is isochoric process. And there are two more processes. One is isothermal, one is adiabatic. For isothermal, we know PV to the power 1 equal to constant, PV constant. This is what? Isothermal. And for adiabatic, PV to the power gamma is constant. So this is your adiabatic process. Remember like this, PV to the power, see the uniformity, PV to the power 0 means pressure constant, PV constant, PV equal to nRT. Since temperature is constant, so PV is constant, so the process is isothermal. In this case, pressure into volume to the power gamma is constant, so this is adiabatic. Since gamma is always greater than 1, so the process will be adiabatic. See the power 0, 1, gamma, and this is also increasing like that. So this is the process by which we can remember like this. So this is your question number 30. So they have asked which process is isothermal. So isothermal will be B, this one. Okay. Next is question number 31. In 31, what they have given, a particle undergoing SHM has a maximum speed of 30 centimeter per second and maximum acceleration of 60 centimeter per second, the time period of the oscillation. Okay. Maximum displacement, a particle undergoing SHM, maximum speed. In SHM we know na, V max equal to A omega, and acceleration max equal to A equal to omega I square into x, and x instead of x just put, we have only shown the magnitude, right? It will be negative, like don't put negative sign, we have considered magnitude values only, and their values is given how much? This speed equal to 30 centimeter per second and this speed equal to 60 centimeter per second square, and they have asked us to find time period. Simply divide it. Once you will divide, na, you will get A cancel, omega is also cancelled. So 1 upon omega is equal to 1 upon 2. So omega equal to 2. So time period equal to 2 pi upon omega. So put the values of omega. So answer should be pi. So time period is pi second. That should be the answer. So which one is matching? Option C is the correct option for that questions. So this is question number 31. Okay. Next we can go through question 32. Question 32. So what they have given in 32? In question number 32, An inductor, capacitor, resistor are connected in series across a source of EMF this much. The power loss in AC circuit. Very good. So in this question they have asked about power loss. So power loss is basically average power, and in AC series RLC circuit, average power equal to ERMS, IRMS into cos phi, and we know that ERMS, IRMS, cos phi equal to R by Z impedance. Now see in the questions what they are given. Inductor means they are given L equal to 20, milli means 10 power minus 3 Henry, capacitance C equal to 50, micro means 10 raised to the power minus 6 Farad, and resistor R equal to 40 ohm are connected in series of source, and V equal to 10 into sine of 340 into T. So this is omega T, na? A sine omega T. So this is your omega. Now, so from this question, so this is basically E naught. So what is ERMS? ERMS is equal to E naught upon root 2, which is coming out 10 upon root 2, which is 5 root 2. So ERMS you know. Next is IRMS. For IRMS, what we need to do is simply calculate impedance Z. And what is value of Z? It is under root of R square plus XL minus XC whole square. Now what is resistance, which is given in the question? 40. What is XL and XC? XL means what? XL you know. XL equal to omega L. XC equal to 1 upon omega C. So we will put the values of XL and XC in this equation, and value of resistance from this equation 40 ohm. So on putting L, C, R and omega, omega is 340, we will get impedance which is equal to, how much? Correct, now we will get impedance, and once impedance is calculated, then we can substitute the value of impedance at this point. Resistance is already given as 40 ohm. And what about IRMS? See, IRMS is equal to ERMS upon Z. So you can put like this. So ERMS is already 5 root 2. So accordingly ERMS is what? 5 root 2 upon Z. So once Z is calculated, substitute at this point, you will get IRMS, and ERMS already you know. IRMS R is given and Z you have calculated. So on substitution of these things, we will able to calculate average power by this one, which is coming out to be roughly 0.51 if you have calculated. Okay, so that is your question number 32. Next is question number 33. In 33 questions, what they have given? Next is 33. In 33 questions, a uniform string of length L, mass M hangs freely from a fixed point. Suppose this is fixed point, this is the string which is hanging like this. This is fixed support. Length is L. So length of this part is L, mass is M. Then the velocity of the transverse waves along the string at a distance x from the free end. This end is free, so from this point at a distance x, what is velocity of the wave? That we have to find out. So it's very simple. What we can do, we know the velocity of wave, transverse wave, equal to under root of T upon mu. What is T? T is represent tension at that point. So this is the tension. So basically once the tension is given, and what is mu? Mu means mass per unit length. Total mass is M, total length is L. So indirectly you have to find the tension at a distance x from the free end. So how to find tension? It's very simple. See, the FVD was like this. Break it into two parts. Suppose this is the portion 1 correct? And think like this, this is the portion 2. This part has length how much? You have considered this part as x, so tension is T and weight of this part will be downward. So how much weight is there? So since mass per unit length is m by L, this is mass of the entire part, length of the entire part, and length of this segment is only x, so this is mass of this part into g. So this is the weight which is falling in downward direction and tension in upward direction. So at equilibrium condition, tension must have to balance this downward weight of the this part, which is basically x from the free end. So mg of the free part at a distance x equal to tension. So instead of tension, so T equal to basically you will get mass per unit length into length of that part into g. So this is tension, just put the value of tension. So we will able to calculate T is equal to mass per unit length x by g and mu equal to m by L. So m by L cancelling each other. So it should be x into g. So g into x, which one? Option B is the matching. So that is the correct answer of these questions. Okay. Next is question number 34. Question 34. What is given? A compound microscope has an objective lens with a focal length of 1.5 centimeter and eyepiece of focal length 5 centimeter. It is focused on an object which is at a distance of 1.8 centimeter from the objective lens. The length of the microscope of the normal adjustment is. Okay. So first of all, we try to make some rough diagram. A compound microscope has an objective lens. Microscope. So this is the microscope and it has two lenses. One is objective lens and second is eyepiece. So this is objective lens and this is your eyepiece. A compound, okay, and focal length FO equal to 1.5 and FE equal to 5. It is focused an object which is at a distance of 1.8 centimeter from the objective lens. So this is the object which it is at a distance of 1.8 centimeter. So this is the UO, but put negative sign because of left side. Okay, the length of the microscope. So basically they want to ask you find this length L. Okay, so first of all tell me one thing, at which point image of the objective will form? This is image of the objective lens, IO. So this distance is basically VO and this distance is basically U for eyepiece, and for normal adjustment it will be focal length of the eyepiece. So length L should be equal to VO plus mod of VO plus focal length of the eyepiece. That should be the answer. So first of all we have to find V naught. V naught is what? Image distance for the objective lens. For that what we have to do? We have to use lens formula. Now put the value objective everywhere. What is 1 by V? We don't know. What is U naught? Minus 1.8. What is F naught? 1.5. So 1 by V naught equal to 1 upon 1.5 minus 1 upon 8. So you can write like this. So this is something like, you can remove decimal. You can remove the decimal. So this is 10 and 3 is common. So you can take it to common. 1 by 5 minus 1 by 6, which is like this. So you can get 10 by 3 and taking LCM 6 minus 5, which is 1, and 6 into 5 30. So this is something like 1 upon 9. So this is 1 upon V naught. So V naught equal to 9 centimeter. So V naught is 9 centimeter. So L will be how much? 9 plus focal length is how much? 5. 9 plus 5 is how much? 14 centimeter. So length of the microscope should be 14 centimeter. So answer which is matching with that is option A. So option A is the correct answer of question number 34. Okay. Next we can go through question number 35. In question 35, what they have given? A body moves in a straight line . 35. A body moves on a straight line by a machine delivering a constant power. The variation of velocity versus position is best shown by which graph? Okay. So in this question, moving in a straight line with delivering a constant power, this is question 35. So power is what? Constant. And power formula we know, F dot velocity. Since it is moving in a straight line, so both are along the same direction. So you can put mass into acceleration into velocity equal to constant. So this will be, mass is also constant, so you can remove it because of the proportional symbol constant. So just put it like this. Acceleration is what? Suppose constant is k, let us assume. Acceleration or constant like this. So acceleration is what? V into dv by ds into v equal to constant upon some m, which is again a constant. Let us assume this as a k. So in this question, now this is v into v, this is velocity square into dv equal to constant into ds. Now someone may be asked that why we have written acceleration equal to v into dv by ds, why we have not written dv by dt, rate of change of velocity with time? Because in this question we have to make the graph between velocity versus displacement. That's why we have written acceleration equal to velocity into dv by ds, that one. Okay. So now integrate it both side. So v dv integration will be v cube by 3 equal to k into s and some integration constant c. Correct now? So velocity power 3 equal to k, 3k which is constant s. So velocity equal to s to the power 1 by 3. So graph is something like this. Velocity directly proportional to s to the power 3. Means graph is velocity proportional to displacement to the power 3. Or indirectly you can say that in this question, for this question, velocity and displacement is related by this equation, and displacement is proportional to velocity to the power 3, and we have to draw the graph between whom? Between velocity and displacement. First of all, try to draw the graph of displacement versus velocity. So displacement versus velocity, this is yq. The graph will be looks like this manner because this is the cubic equation. This is something like this. This is the graph of cubic. No? This is the graph of cubic equations. But we have to plot the graph of home graph. We want to plot the graph of. We want to plot the graph of velocity in y-axis and displacement on x-axis. So this is velocity is what? S to the power 1 by 3. So this one and that one is basically inverse of each other. And for inverse function, what we can take? We can simply take the images of this one, mirror images of across y equal to x line. So graph will becomes like this for that segment. Correct? No, like this. Graph will looks like this segment. The graph is something like this, but negative displacement is not there. So graphs will be this, which is matching with option B. So B is the correct explanation. So this is the relation between velocity and displacement. Accordingly, we can plot the graph. You know little bit like for displacement is proportional to velocity to the power 3. So this is the cubic function, and for cubic the graph for cubic function graph is exactly like this. And for this is basically reciprocal inverse function, you can say. Correct, no? So velocity is inverse of displacement, inverse of this one. So and for inverse function, we have to take the images of this one about this axis. So graph will be shifted like this. So that is the graph, which is formed at that particular point. So that should be the answer. So with that, which is matching with the option B. So option B is the correct one. Next question is 36. In 36 questions, what they have given to us in an experiment, 36 question. In an experiment, mass and velocity on an object are measured. Mass equal to 1.00 and velocity equal to 2.00. Respectively, maximum percentage error in calculation of kinetic energy. So kinetic energy equal to half mv square. This is constant, no error. So maximum error, this is the delta Ke upon Ke. This is the relative error. Percentage they have asked to multiply by 100 equal to relative error in mass. They have asked percentage, again multiply by 100 plus 2 into delta V upon V into 100. Correct now? So this is the expression of error in kinetic energy. See, error in kinetic energy due to the measurement of mass plus due to measurement of velocity. Power m, so we have just put 1. Power here is 1, so you can put 1, and here power is 2, so velocity will appear twice. So we have written this is the fractional change, fractional error. This is called relative error, and once you multiply by 100, it will become percentage error. Now put the values. What is delta m? See, the least count of mass is how much? 0.01, because it has accuracy up to this now. So we can write like this, up to which decimal it is up to, written up to 2 decimal place 0. So up to that particular point, this is the least count, and similarly least count of this one, or you can say error of this one. Basically you can say error delta m. You can error in velocity equal to 0.01 by this expression. Now put the value of delta m equal to 0.01, this mass equal to 1.01 into 100 plus 2 into delta v equal to 0.01 and v equal to 2.00 into 100, which is equal to, now see, this one is equal to 1, this one is equal to 2 into 2, cancelling each other, 1. So answer should be 2%. So error in kinetic energy is 2%, which one is option B. So option B is the correct answer of these questions. Okay. Next question is 37. Clear everyone? Question number 37. A NPN transistor is connected in a common emitter configuration in a given amplifier. So this is common emitter configuration. Okay, this is common emitter configuration, common emitter. So this is emitter, this is base, this is collector, and this one is what? NPN. This is NPN transistor like this. Okay. Correct. So this is emitter, this is NP, so direction of current is this much, this is I, this is current which is going like this manner. So this is emitter, and we know the relation like this. So there must be some voltage, this is forward biasing, and this will be in reverse biasing. Reverse biasing means you have to say that this is P, so you have to connect P, this is N, and for negative you can make like this connections. This is the like this is the voltage. Now what they have given to us, an NPN transistor is connected in a common emitter configuration in a given amplifier. A load resistance of 800 input, 800 is connected to the collector circuit. Okay, collector, this is collector, so load collector RC equal to 800 ohm, and voltage drop across it is 0.8 volt. Okay, the voltage across it VC equal to 0.8 volt. C for capacitor, C for, this is emitter, this is base, this is collector, C for collector here. If the circuit amplification factor is if current amplification factor is 0.96, current amplification means beta, which is equal to output, which is IC, upon input, which is base, and this is given as 0.96, and the input resistance of the circuit is 120 ohm. Suppose this is your R input, which is given as 192 ohm. The voltage gain, they have asked about, find voltage gain, okay, and voltage gain and the power gain of the amplifier, voltage gain and power gain. So we know that voltage gain. Voltage gain is basically simply equal to current gain into current gain. Voltage gain equal to current gain into resistance gain. Voltage gain equal to current gain into resistance gain. And power gain equal to voltage gain into current gain, because power equal to V into I. Okay. So current gain equal to 0.96. We can substitute like this, 0.96. And what is resistance gain? Output resistance upon input. Output is 800, input is 192. So this will be equal to decimal, we have removed decimal, and 96 into 2 is 122, this is 200, this is 8 by 2 is 4. So this is coming to be 4, and voltage gain equal to, voltage gain is 4, current gain is 0.96. So this should be 3.84 like that. So the option which is matching is voltage gain is 4, power gain is 3.84. So option A is the correct answer for these questions. Okay. Next is question number 38. In 38 question, what they have given, a light rod of length L has two masses M1 M2 attached to its twins. The moment of inertia of the system about an axis perpendicular to rod passing through the center of the mass. So this is the questions. Mass M1, mass M2 connected to the light rod, length is L. So moment of inertia about an axis passing through the center of mass. Okay. Let us assume this is the center of mass of these two. So this must be at a distance R1, this must be at a distance R2. So what is R1? For R1, we know how to calculate. This will be M2 into L upon M1 plus M2. What we have written? See, from this point, for R1 calculation, assume this to be origin. For R1 calculation, assume this point as origin. So coordinate becomes 0, 0, and the coordinate of M2 become L, 0. So it will be M1 0 plus M2 into L upon M1 plus M2. Similarly, for R2 consider this to be origin and M1 at a distance of L. So it will be M2 into 0 plus M1 into L upon M1 plus M2. Now, moment of inertia I equal to, you can write M1 R1 square plus M2 R2 square. Just substitute the values, you will get the answer. So M1 R1 square, you will get the term which is common among these two, M1 into M2 into L upon M1 plus M2 square, plus same term, you can write like this, plus M2 R2 is M1 L upon M1 plus M2 whole square. And among these terms something is common, M1 M2 L square upon M1 plus M2 whole square is common. In bracket you can write M2 plus M1, which will be cancel these terms. So final answer will be M1 into M2 upon M1 plus M2 into L square. So that should be the answer. So which one is matching with this one? This question number 38. So option D is the matching one, M1 M2 upon M1 plus M2 into L square. So option D is the correct answer of these questions. Next, we can go through the question number 39. In 39, what they are given, the angle of incidence for a ray of light refracting surface of prism. Okay, this is the question of prism. So let us make a prism. Okay. The angle of incident for a ray of light at a refracting surface of prism is 45 degree. So angle of incident is given as 45. Suppose this is the normal. This is the ray which is coming like this. So this angle of incident ray is 45 degree. The angle of prism is 60 degree. So angle is 60 degree. if the rays suffer minimum deviation, and we know that for minimum deviation, what is condition? This is I, angle of incident ray. Okay, suppose this is normal, so this is E, this is R1, this is R2. For minimum deviation, R1 equal to R2 equal to A by 2, A equal to, this is A, so this will be 30 degree, and I equal to E, so I equal to 45 degree, and deviation minimum, delta minimum equal to I plus E minus A. I is equal to I plus E are same, so this will be 90, and A is how much? 60, so it will be 30 degree. So this is the minimum deviations. What next they have asked us? They have find the refractive index of the medium. Okay, for refractive index, apply the Snell's law at this particular point. What is Snell's law? You will write now mu1. So this is air part, this is mu is given how much? It is given as, this is glass, so for a glass surface we will consider mu equal to, we have to calculate mu basically, so mu, let us assume mu, so apply the formula, apply the Snell's law. Air is 1, mu 1 sine 45 degree equal to mu 2. What is mu? We don't know. Mu of the glass is mu. And what is sine R? Sine R, R is how much? 30 degree, just put it. So sine 45, 1 upon root 2, mu sine 30 degree is what? 1 by 2. So mu is equal to 2 upon root 2, which is equal to root 2. So this is the mu. So delta is coming to be 30 degree and mu is coming to be root 2. So option which is matching is option B. So correct answer is B, 39th. Okay. Next question is 40th. Two satellite A and B of masses M1 and M2. Okay. Two satellite masses M1 and M2. M2 equal to twice of M1 are moving in a circular orbit of radius R1, radius R2. Okay. The ratio of the time period of it. Okay. The ratio of time period. We know that time period. We know that there is. We know that Kepler. We know basically Kepler's law, and according to the Kepler's law, what we can do. And according to Kepler's law, we know the relation time period is quite directly proportional to radius to the power 3. Kepler's have given 3 law. This is called law of period. So time period square is directly proportional to the radius to the power 3. So from that equation we will get T proportional to radius to the power 3 upon 2. So let us assume this is T1, which what we have to find out, TA by TB. So this one is A, this one is B. So TA upon TB equal to RA to the power 3 by 2 upon RB to the power 3 by 2. Indirectly we can consider RA upon RB to the whole power 3 by 2. Now we have given RA equal to R1 and RB equal to 4 times R1, that is given in the questions. Okay. R1 equal to basically given as 4 times R1 equal to 4 times R2. So that is given the relations. So accordingly we can put it. So instead of R1 we can substitute R1 equal to 4 times R2, and instead of RB we can put R2, and their whole power is 3 by 2. R2 cancel. So this will be coming out 4, and you can write 4 is 2 square, 3 by 2, 2 cancel. So this is 2 power 3 means 8 upon 1. So answer which is matching is option C, which is 8. So correct answer is 8. Okay. Next question is 41. Out of the following options, which one can be used to produce propagating electromagnetic wave? First option, a charge moving with a constant velocity. Second option, a stationary charge. third option a charge less particle, and fourth is an accelerating charge. Okay, so we know that electromagnetic wave is produced by which type of wave? Electromagnetic wave is produced by an accelerating charge basically. Electromagnetic wave is someone in which electric field and magnetic field both are present, and that is, see, a stationary charge can produce electric field, moving charge can produce electric field, magnetic field, but electromagnetic wave is produced by the accelerating charge. So option should be D. That is okay. Next is 42. So for 42, in 42 question number, what they have given, a block of mass 1 kg is released from the top of the fixed rough wedge of height 10 meter. When the block reaches the ground, the speed becomes 10 meter per second. Work done by the force of friction. Okay, first of all, we can draw the diagram. A block of mass 1 kg. Suppose this is the block of mass 1 kg is released from the top of the fixed rough wedge of height 10 meter. Okay, this height is given as 10 meter. When the block reaches the ground, its speed becomes 10 meter per second. Reaches the ground means just it reaches the ground, its speed becomes 10 meter per second. To find the work done by friction, simple. So what we can do, we can apply the work energy theorem, and according to work done, which one is doing work? There are two forces, one is called gravity and one is called friction. Friction always acts in this direction and gravity is acting along this direction, mg. Work done by all force equal to change in kinetic energy. Work done by gravity equal to mg into h. Work done by friction we don't know, equal to change. Change means final speed minus initially final minus half mv initial. Initially they have not given, so we consider to be zero speed. So work done by all force equal to change in kinetic energy. Now see how much gravity has done the work. Gravity mass is what? 1, and we can consider g equal to 10. If nothing is given, always consider 10. So 1 into 10 into h. H equal to how much? 10 equal to work done by friction equal to half. Mass is 1, velocity is 10 square, correct no? So work done by friction equal to, this is 100 by 2 means 50, this is 10 into 10, 100, 50 minus 100 which is coming to be minus 50 joule, and work done by friction is minus 50. It should be negative, why? Because friction is acting in upward direction, so force is acting in this way, friction is acting in this way and they are moving along this way. So this is the displacement, but force is opposite direction, so work is negative. So which option is correct? D. D is the matching one. Next is 43. An electric dipole is placed at an angle of 30 degree with the electric field intensity. It experiences a torque of this much. The charge on the dipole of the dipole length this much. Okay, basically we have to find charge. Okay, and torque is given. What we know that torque is equal to electric dipole, torque equal to P cross E. Okay, now just substitute the values. What they have given to us, they have given to us electric field, and see torque equal to P cross E. Okay, it experiences a torque equal to 4 Newton meters. So torque equal to 4, and P is what? P is basically called dipole moment, which is equal to charge into distance. P cross E, P is sine theta. Magnitude wise we can write like this, So Q we don't know. What is distance? They have given dipole length equal to 2 centimeter, make in meter, and electric field equal to 2 into 10 raised to the power 5, and theta is given as 30 degree, so sine 30 degree like this. So this is 4. From that equation we will be able to solve it. So this is 2, this is 2, 4. So 4 cancelling each other. So this is 100, this is 10 power 5, So 100 upon 10 raised to the power 5 into sine 30 degree equal to Q. Sine 30 is 1 by 2, so 2 will go up. So this is 2 upon 10 raised to the power 3. So you can say that this is 2 milli, or you can say from this 2 into 10 raised to the power 3 coulombs, which is equal to 2 millicoulombs. So that is question number 43. So 43. Next is okay. So that is question number 43. Next, question number 44. What they have given, the given circuit has two ideal diodes connected as on the figure. The current flowing through the resistance R1 will be, okay. So what we can do, question 44. So this is the questions. Diode, resistance, that is given in the questions. This is 10 volt, 2 ohm, R1, diode 1, 3 ohm, this is 2 ohm, D2. Current through R1. So this is the interesting, this is the desired resistance for us. See, this is positive terminal, this is negative terminal. And this diode 1 is basically reverse bias because positive connected to the negative terminal. So this is reverse bias and this one is forward bias. So current will flow through this way, go it like this it will come. So we have to find current this one, and no current will flow through this path because this is reverse bias, no current will flow in the reverse bias because of infinite resistance is offered in reverse biasing. So simply we can say that current equal to what is voltage 10 and what is total resistance in the series 2 plus 2. So total resistance is 4, so 10 by 4 means 5 by 2 means 2.5 ampere. So option is D. So D is the correct answer of question number 44. Okay. Next and last question is 45. What is they have given? Velocity of the liquid coming out of the small hole containing two different liquid of density 2 rho and rho h shown in the figure. Okay. So what we can do? We can plot the diagram. So they have given diagram like this. These two are the different liquid. Their height is 2h, their height is h. Density is rho, density is 2 rho. Liquid is V. This is speed we want to find out. Okay. So what we can say, this is H2, this is H1, which is 2H. So this question is based on basically Bernoulli's theorems, which we can apply at any 2 point on the streamline flow. This is the streamline flow. So we can generally select these 2 points, 1 point just inside the hole, okay, and one just outside the hole. So this is point 1, this is point 2. Okay, now we can apply Bernoulli's theorem at point 1 and point 2. What is Bernoulli's theorem? It states that pressure energy, kinetic energy and potential energy per unit volume at any point remain constant. So apply that, and according to that what we can write, pressure energy at point 1 is how much pressure. See, this is air, now this is again air, and air can act pressure how much? Atmospheric pressure. P naught is basically P atmospheric. So here also pressure is basically pressure due to air plus, see, at this point 1 how much pressure is there? Pressure due to air plus pressure due to this liquid column plus pressure due to another liquid column. So what is pressure energy at particular point 1? You will write P naught plus rho 1 G H1 plus rho 2 G H2. This is pressure energy, okay. This is pressure plus potential energy. See, point 1 and point 2, point 1 and point 2 are on the same level, so their potential energy will be on same basically. So we are not writing the term because they will cancel each other from both sides. And one interesting fact is that point 1 has very less speed at compared to the point 2. Why? Because point 1, just see, this is the point 1, see, this is the point 1. Okay, most of the liquid at this point get collided with the wall and their speed just tending to 0, and their speed just inside the liquid is approximately 0. So what we can say that their kinetic energy is very small. So whenever you write now kinetic energy term, half rho into velocity square, and velocity square is what? Very small. So you can write like that, rho is what? Which liquid? Rho 2. Velocity is very small, so this term is also basically very small, so you can compare it to be 0. Now write the kinetic energy at point 2. All energy at point 2. For point 2, what is pressure energy? P naught, because air will act at this point. And what is potential? 0. We have written na 0 because both have same level, so cancel each other. And what about kinetic energy? Kinetic energy will become half into rho into V square. Which rho? The liquid which is coming out. Which liquid? Rho 2. So this will be half rho 2 into V square. Now put the values. Since P naught is same, so it will cancel each other. Just put the values of rho 1. Rho 1 equal to rho G, H1 equal to 2H plus rho 2 equal to 2 rho G, H2 equal to H equal to half rho 2 means 2 rho into V square. So this is basically rho and rho is common, so we can cancel each other. This is 2 into G into H, this is 2 into G into H equal to, this is 2 to cancel, this is V square, so this is 4GH equal to V square. So velocity equal to under root of 4GH, which can be written as 2 into GH. So that is the velocity. So which option is matching? Option is D. So correct answer is D. So in this way we have discussed all those questions of mock test 3. So it is completed now. Thank you.